But anyway, back to the Cabernet. What I like so much about the Cabernet, and we haven't talked about any of the wines really very much, is that you really get the pure expression of what I think old Napa Valley cabs were. You get the varietalness in it. And what I dislike so much about current wines is that they're all harvested very ripe, and you lose the individual identity of the wine. And I think the 16 Cabernet, well, first of all, 16 Cabernet, 16 vintage is fabulous. Our Chardonnay was one of the best. Our Riesling is one of the best. I think our Cabernet is one of the best. And they express the individuality of the vineyard and the site and the location, terroir, if you would, or what I call the ephemeral sense of uniqueness, is ephemeral sense of art, which is wine should be unique. And to me, you get in this wine all of that interesting flavors and aromas and characteristics that come through. Whereas with a much more ripe grape, you lose all of that.
Well, that was one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, and it's become almost a bad word in a lot of when describing a lot of Napa cabs, that there's a little bit of green. There's some green notes there. There's some pyrazine. There's some pepper, which I assume you agree that most, or at least many, vintners in Napa Valley don't want. They see that sometimes as a fault. I love it because it reminds me of I learned about wine riding my bike around France, and I mean,
yeah,
and that's part of the varietal characteristic of Cabernet. And I wanted to ask, I should have looked this up. Is there any Cab Franc in here too? Because
yes. There's about 6% Cab Franc, 4% Merlot. It's vice versa. You go on our website, everything is there.
Yeah, I went on the website for the Riesling and the Chard, but
that's all right. That's all right. But I agree with you. And what we have is a group of people, and the wine industry is not a very courageous group, frankly. They don't want to talk about bad news. They only want good news. They want everything spun right. If there's a bad thing that comes up, they don't want to be quoted on it. And anything to does with green and Cabernet is like, ooh. Some people think green is bad, and green is not bad. And in fact, I think you and I agree that Cabernet, one of the Cabernet characteristics, which I miss in so many Cabernets, is that there isn't that green olive character. There isn't a little bit of that herbacea. We're not talking asparagus. We're not talking major green bell peppers. We're just talking a little bit of it in there. And I think that is what has made Cabernet so interesting all these years. It is a varietal character of the grape.